That's correct. That's correct. But Kwabna, finally, let's look at it this way. Gary has made some points. I'm sure you would want to have a word or two on that. But after that, I want you to address this issue for me. If Lewis Hamilton fails to deliver at Ferrari, what conclusion beyond seven-time champion can we draw on his career?
Well, see, this is the thing. I think the only part I want to talk about in Gary's submission was the fact that Lewis is he said something about Lewis and media and things like that when it comes to presenting himself and those things. I think he's a master class on his own the way he handles the media. Because first of all, let's just get this straight. He's the first of all, I always say that look at it this way. Lewis Hamilton is the only black driver on the grid. You understand? Already he's had to work much more faster and smarter than most of the drivers because everybody's already looking down on him. You have people, the likes of Benny Eccleston, saying all sorts of things about him. Other pundits and other people saying all sorts of things about him just because of where he's coming from. And we all get it. They keep throwing things at him as if to break the guy down. Right? They don't talk about him as much as they talk about him too much sometimes. It's like they try to break him down, try to break his spirit. He's still there. He's still there. He's still doing what he does best. We have drivers who sit on the grid and use the F word against their own team engineers. Literally insult them live on air for everybody to hear. But nothing like that follows them. The media doesn't even talk about it. They just talk about one, two, oh, they said this and insulted, and that's it. The end there. Imagine Lewis is insulting Bono. Imagine if Lewis even said, use the F word against Bono. Imagine what they will communicate. Imagine if you use the F word even against the team Ferrari. Imagine what they will communicate and what they will say about Lewis Hamilton. You understand? So he always takes the brunt of the key anytime. He even says there. You understand? So I still think that he handles the media the way they are supposed to be handled. He does his own PR and his team behind him is a solid team. Look, I've personally encountered the team behind Lewis from I think in Abu Dhabi 2023. Solid guys. Right? They know what they're doing. They know how to run the media. They know how to communicate. They know what to tell you not to say. You understand? Of course, the guy has a lot to say out of his chest, but he doesn't say it because he's being we try to control it. But you have other drivers sitting on the grid using the F word against their own team engineers live on race radio. The whole world is watching, and nobody says anything. It's swept under the grass, and then we move on. You understand? So he takes all of that. Look, he has 3 years with Ferrari. For me, he wins or lose, he's still Lewis Hamilton, the greatest. He'll always be the greatest driver ever. Like it or look, there will never be any Lewis Hamilton. And I keep saying this, and I will repeat it again. If you take the sport in Africa as it stands now, people follow F1 because of Lewis Hamilton. You've seen our watch parties. Our watch parties even took a dip 2-3 years ago just because Lewis was not really winning races. You understand? Now, if you want to grow a market like this, and you have the only black driver on the grid, what do? I'm not saying that pamper him, but don't go after him. Because the more you go after him, the more people push back. And the more he will push back. If he leaves the race today and it becomes an all-white grid, it will only be the die-hard Formula One fans like us watching Formula One. You understand? You will lose a bit. Look, I'm telling you, do you know the amount of money Mercedes lost when Lewis left Ferrari and Mercedes in terms of merchandise? Who is buying merchandise because of George Russell and Antonelli? Probably Mercedes lovers. That's it. But we all saw Ferrari, the rise in merchandise sales alone. Even in China, at some point, even the person who won the Chinese Grand Prix was like, man, it was like Lewis fans came here to watch the race. You understand? So, but at the end of the day, you have names like Benny Eccleston always being racist on Lewis Hamilton, saying all sorts of things about the driver. You understand? For me, I think in a way it even affects his driving. When you try to break him, it's like, what has the guy done to you? For me, that's my question. I keep asking it. What has he done to you? Like people who always the larger media in the scale. And I keep mentioning the name Benny Eccleston because he always leads the charge. When he made a comment that Lewis was too old and should leave the race, I'm like, dude, have you seen Alonso? Are you saying the same thing about Alonso, who is way older than Lewis Hamilton? Come on, let's be real.